Hello everyone. It's the 2nd of January 2023 and I hope everyone who is listening in is having a great start to the year. One of the things we've talked about in social circles recently has been the availability of information in Fiji. Now, with the last 16 years when we had the Bainimarama government, there were a lot of things that were perhaps not as clear as they should have been, and as a result, a lot of discussions had been going on social media as well as informally in various groups and communities about what may really have been happening, but was not verifiable. So as a result of that, social media was abuzz with a lot of rumors, a lot of gossip, a lot of innuendo. Much of it was perhaps correct, but some of it was absolutely unreliable in its nature and unverified, and remains that way. With the new government that got elected in December, Fijians have now started asking questions quite openly that had perhaps been hushed and taboo topics. Core amongst those questions have been appointments that have been made by the previous government, both in the public service as well as on government statutory boards. And accompanying appointments are obviously the question around salaries of the incumbents or the people who had been appointed and perhaps may not be in those roles any longer, but the questions continue to linger. Now, in a democracy, the people must have as much of a say in how they want to see their leaders lead the country and themselves as the leaders. So the people therefore need to be able to say to the leaders that this is not the way we want you to vote or go on a particular topic, or this is what we want you to do, or this is what we don't want you to do. And in order to be able to say that, or in order to be able to make such demands, you need to be able to have the information available to you to be sure that what you're asking for is in your best interest. Now, with the Dawn system, the constituent voice has become rather weakened. So you do not have your constituency rep any longer. You do not have your open and your communal constituencies, yes, but more importantly, for a particular geographical region, you do not have a representative. So who would you go and approach? If you lived in Vaileka town in Reki, who is your representative? The closest representative would perhaps be from Nalawa, but that's about 40 kilometers away. Who attends to your needs? Who listens to your voices? So in order to be able to articulate your views, or in order to be able to ask for information, the people have to step up themselves. They have to ask these questions themselves. And the way to do it would have to have a people's voice platform. I'm not saying that we need to establish a people's voice, but I'm saying we need to have greater opportunities for people to have a platform through which they can ask questions around anything really. Anything that the government does really needs to be made transparent to the people who voted that government in. And that also extends to non-government leaders who sit on the opposition benches, because they are effectively leaders as well. They may not be in government, but they are representing the people. So to be having such a platform, you need to have the respect for the people's right to know. And going back to the original question, who and where do they ask? So in order to address it, one of the ways that other countries, such as mature democracies, for example, Australia, New Zealand, the USA, and Britain, they have frameworks that allow people to have the freedom to obtain information. In Australia and New Zealand, it's been there since 1982. In the USA, it was the Freedom of Information Act in 1967. In Britain, it was more recent, in 2000. But still, they are there and they are being used. Are they effective? Yes. Do they give information to the people as requested all the time? No. But people do get the information. Do people get all the information that they request? No. Because on certain grounds, such as the security of the nation, the information may be redacted, it may be withdrawn, or it may be hidden, or it may just be outright rejected. the request might just be rejected. But the people at least can ask the question, and if it is rejected, they can ask a supplementary question through the right to information on the grounds on which the rejection was made. But the important thing is the people have the voice to ask. And that leads us to the next important point, which is why does whether Fiji has such a system? Well, actually Fiji does, and it is via its Information Act of 2018. I have given the link to that act here. It's fairly straightforward, I'd say. And through the Information Act of 2018, the Fijian has the right to get information around any of the questions that they may have on item 1 here. This is the Information Act of 2018, and if you click on the link, you'll get all of these subsections to that act, and it's got all the critical information that you need to be able to make a determination on whether you want to go ahead with the right to information request or not. So I'm going to go very briefly on these links to sort of summarize what's being said here. So this section here talks about the request to information by any persons, who is really eligible, what the process is for the determination of the request, whether the Commission is going to accept and what it will do if it does accept the request, the grounds on which the Commission may refuse the request, what it will do if it transfers it to another public agency, what to do if there is an urgent request, for example. But here is the important bits that people may be finding quite useful. Exemption from disclosure of information. So if you do make a request under the Information Act from the public, from the government, these are the grounds on which the information may not be completely available to you or made available to you, or it would not be given to you altogether. So it's a whole list of things, and it's nothing unusual from what I can see. I'm not a legal person, nor am I a constitutional expert, but I'm just reading it through interpretation here. And so what affects the sovereignty, security, or scientific or economic interests of the state? So the security aspects, as I said very briefly before, lead to the incitement or commission of an offense. So you can't use that information that is provided to you to cause to incite or commit an offense. And if the Commission feels that the release of that information is going to incite others into committing offenses, they may not make that information available to you. Information expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, or which could constitute a contempt of court. Obviously, no authority anywhere on the planet in a democracy is going to go against any court process that constitutes a contempt outcome. So they will not release information that would constitute or that would result in the court finding you or the government in this case to be held to be in contempt. Information which would cause a breach of the privileges of Parliament or a subcommittee or committee of the Parliament. So anything that breaches the privilege of Parliament. Information that is subject to legal professional privilege. So what is sensitive in its nature to legal profession. Information available to a person in the exercise of a person's fiduciary duty unless the Commission is satisfied the disclosure is in public interest. So information should not really disrupt anybody's fiduciary roles in any way. Information that is received in confidence from a foreign government or international organization, so it's sort of bordering on security there, information that would endanger the life or safety of any person or may result in harm. Information that would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of an alleged offender. So anything that is the subject of an active investigation or which may impede prosecution, investigation, etc. of any other offender. Cabinet documents are exempt to some extent. Information that does not have any relationship or any public interest or activity. So if it does not have any public interest in it, then it might not be released. Information which is classified by Cabinet as official state secret, no surprises there. If it is deemed as a secret, it would not be released. Information which would cause harm or endanger any protective site or environment. a trade secret, commercially sensitive information, proprietary information, etc., or any information. This is really a general clause that may not be covering any of the above, which the Commission deems is not in public interest. So if you ask, for example, something that is completely mundane, like what is served for lunch at cabinet meetings, there's a chance the Commission may feel that is not in public interest. Maybe they will, I don't know, depends on what the Commission feels. So if you feel that the information has not been provided to you by the Commission, you can file a complaint against the Commission, and they will have to provide a written explanation of what grounds in here, if any, have been applied in rejecting your request. And you've got appeals processes as well. So it's a fairly comprehensive act. Again, I'm saying and I'm disclosing that I'm not a legal person, so I don't have full knowledge of any of these processes here. But I'm just bringing to our attention that there is a mechanism by which information to Fijians can be given to the Fijians if it is of public interest and has some bearing on good governance, I suppose. Perhaps if we all use the Information Act, we would be able to dispel quite a lot of the rumors and gossip that proliferate in discussions, and we'd have information available to us officially, which would give us some grounds of assurance that the information is reliable and therefore accurate.